Welcome, welcome, welcome back to Truth Quest. My name is Aaron Moriarty. I will be your host, and we're going to go on a quest for truth together. And today, friends, we have a special friend for you from the other side of the equator, down south, they say, Mike De La Peña. Mike, welcome to the Truth Quest.
Thank you very much. I am humbled by being here. I mean, considering the other, Passaggio and our dear blue avian friend. So I'm flattered. I'm humbled to be here, and I'm happy to be part of your program. This is just I got goosebumps. But anyway.
Oh, no need to be nervous. We're just friends talking. Like we've talked before. And you had a very unusual childhood. I
did not go back to see George Washington, and I did not see Lincoln's assassination. So my childhood wasn't that interesting.
Everybody's life is interesting. So, and I find your life very interesting. It's just, but when we experience it, it's not as interesting to us, but
it is what it is, right? You don't know that it's different.
To everybody else, it's fantastic. So you had the privilege of growing up in two different countries.
Yes, sir.
So you lived in Guthrie, Oklahoma.
Yep.
And you also spent half your time or part of your time growing up down in Brazil. Is that right?
No. Mexico City.
Mexico City. Okay, you're in Brazil now.
I'm in Brazil now. Yeah.
All right. That's right.
I get around.
So now, what was that like? How would you compare, over time, the two countries? Did you see changes in the countries?
The fact that I was 7 or 8 sometimes, and I'd be down in Mexico and I'd be complaining about, how they didn't have this or they didn't have the other, and how just things weren't the same as what they were in the States. And my dad, basically told me, hey, people don't like to hear others complaining about their reality. So you want some friends or you want people, don't be complaining about that stuff. Try and find what it is that you like about it. Okay, fine. So I changed that, and I stopped looking at the negative things in the different cultures and societies, and I started picking up on the positive things and the good things, which is one of the reasons why I'm down here in Brazil. The thing I loved about my Mexican heritage was the warm feelings of family and community and friendship that you develop in there. It's a very warm culture, and huggy, touchy feely. You get there and you kiss them on the cheek, and you give everybody a big warm hug and everything else, and that's just life. Whereas in the States, it's a handshake, and it's 6-foot distancing isn't difficult for the American culture. We do that naturally. It's just there's always personal space thing, and so you get to see those two cultures. And imagine being red pilled before you're a teenager.
Wow.
Because you start to see tendencies that people have in different areas. And then you're ripped out of that area and you go to another one and you see what programming they have and what tendencies they have, and you see that it's different, and not everybody has the same programming. Wait a second. So who's right? And so you start to question that, and you start to go a little bit deeper, and you try and find what they have in common. And so that was basically a search of mine since I was a kid. What other choice am I going to have? You got to survive. You got to figure out how to go forward, how to plan your life, how to know who you're going to be, what you're going to do. That the Japanese saying that the highest honor is to find your own destiny. It's or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. But yeah, it's you got to find your own road, and I didn't know what it was. Every time I started planning something, my dad would come in and change things up, or something else would happen, and I started just rolling with the punches, like they would say in like a Rocky movie. But I like to make the analogies of more like surfing life, which kind of combines with the idea that I'm trying to bring out in my book about how everything is accumulation. You can't have one point and make it work for everything. It's usually a multitude of things coming together and feeding off each other and making the whole system grow like a wave in the ocean. Okay, if you're out there paddling, it doesn't matter how fast you paddle, you're not going to be able to get up and hang 10 if you're on a lake, right? But you see that wave out there in the middle of the ocean, and it's a little bit bigger than the other waves. And so you're going, oh, whoa, that one's. Do you get ready for it right then? No, because it's out there in the middle of the ocean. But that's going to be a bigger one. So it's going to break a little bit further back. And so you start paddling out and you get closer to the area where it's going to start to go. And as it gets closer, then you turn your board around, you start to paddle, you start to prepare. And as it gets closer, then you paddle your ass off. And when you feel it starting to lift up that board, then you pop up. I can't do because I have no freaking balance. I prefer to body surf on smaller waves because I'm a chicken shit. But the idea is you jump up on the board and you're riding the wave. You are no longer doing the work. You're just trying not to fall off while the wave takes you where you need it. You might want to go over here, but you're going to go down the tunnel of that wave and you're going to end up enjoying yourself. You won't end up exactly where you wanted to, but you are further ahead with very little effort. It's like that in economics. It's like that in psychology. It's like that in history. It's like that in chemistry. It's like that in biology. It's like that. Everything we do or study has a tendency of being like that. You have an accumulation of energy that at one point it just becomes kinetic. And if you're there at the right point, at that kinetic point, it's 7 years of success if you catch the economic wave at the right time. And my dad usually ended up catching those things when they were starting to break and he didn't have infrastructure and everything. You catch them a bit too late if you don't see that wave back in there and you prepare for it. So being able to decipher those things has been what I consider my personal evolution. I see everything in waves. These tendencies of people changing and sociological changes and everything else, you see them starting. One of the things that made me decide, I came to Brazil in 97, okay? But I already felt that there was something amiss, something that this political correctness thing, to where you can't say anything, you can't be honest, you can't be truthful. You start creating this lie-based reality, which in some cultures I'd already seen. Okay, there are some aspects of the Mexican culture to where you don't say anything to anybody. Your own problems are at home, and your garbage is your own garbage, and so everything's perfect and rosy and fun, while the world is burning down underneath. Just nobody sees it. That's also not necessarily healthy, and I've already seen societies like that. And so when I saw the U.S., which is all about what I figured the American culture, which okay, Oklahoma, Texas, we have our own way of looking at life versus where the rest of the country looks at it. But yeah, I've been to New York, I've been to Chicago, been to LA, been to San Diego, been to Denver, Florida, all over the place. When I was a kid, my dad used to drive because it's cheaper to drive than fly, a family of three. So we drive everywhere. We put 100,000 miles in our Volvo in 82. That was just a normal year. Yeah. So we went lots of places and it was fun. It was enjoyable. The only thing is that you aren't sitting at home bored and your friends come over and go, hey, can Mikey come out and play? Oh yeah, what are we going to do? Well, today we're going to play kick the can, and tomorrow we're going to hit rocks with the bat, or whatever it is kids do. I have no idea. I wasn't one of them. There was one time a friend of mine called me up and we went out to we were 11 years old. And so we went out to the woods close to where his house was, and his cousin was there. And we had planned for it beforehand. So his cousin brought cigarettes and I brought some tequila from home. And then we just made a small bonfire in the middle of the woods. Responsible, we put rocks around it and made sure there was dirt and everything else. It'd be okay, right? And that was what we did, I guess. Then I got a phone call from his mom, and she asked if we were smoking cigarettes and putting bonfires, and I'm like, no, we weren't smoking cigarettes. We just, started a small campfire out there, but we put it out and everything else. Then I get a call from my buddy, says, hey, my mom knows I smoke, but she doesn't let me make campfires because I already burned stuff down. Why did you tell her about the campfire? And I'm going, oh, yeah. So you can't win for losing, right? The kids at school would play hide and seek, and I always try and be as good as I can at everything. And so I'd be hiding, and then all of a sudden I'd see kids playing something else. So I decided not to play hide and seek anymore. Yeah, I don't. People, I'd say, okay, go ahead, go play. I'll go do something else a little bit better with my time. So there are some antisocial behaviors that I have adopted over the years, which have kept me safe, I guess. But hey, again, I completely got off topic. Where were we?
I don't know, but that reminded me of when I was a kid. I had two brothers, and for some reason, one day there were no parents at home for a little while, and we decided to play in the laundry room and get into the dryer and ride it around. So I went in there, they turned it on, and then they left.
You can't open it from the inside.
I'm like going around, I'm holding it, going around. Wow, this is kind of fun. Hey, where are you guys going? Hey, you guys, where are you going?
I bet you were the little brother. You were the youngest, right?
I was in the middle.
Middle. Ooh, worse. Oh, man.
And then I thought,
middle child syndrome.
It started getting hot, but it was still kind of fun. But I thought, I better, I'll just hold with one hand and I'll push the door open with my other hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I let go, bam, 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 the metal thing was hitting my head. So oh no, what am I going to do? So I eventually thought I have to just lunge forward.
Okay.
Just with all my weight, just lunge forward. And I made it. I got out, and my brothers weren't anywhere to be found. They went on their bikes somewhere. It's like, thanks a lot, brothers. What the heck?
Yeah, I'm an only child. I don't know what that kind of love is like.
Love? No, that ain't love.
That's just brotherly love. Like my two boys tell me, hey, Dad, you didn't have any brothers. This is how we behave. This is how we love each other. I'm going, no, you can't do that. I was an only child brought up by 5 or 6 different people. And so between my great grandmother, who at that point was 75,
wow.
my 2 grandmothers who were in their 50s, and my parents who were in their 20s and 30s. And so everybody had their voice and opinion on my behavior, my attitude, and what I did. I mean, spotlights everywhere. So I didn't have that ability. I mean, my mom used to tell stories about her and her sister making cookies with lard or something, and it smelled up the house. And I'm like, I never did any of that. I mean, it didn't even occur to me to do any of that stupid shit. My father always told me, you don't break toys, because if you break something, we have to replace it with another one the same. Instead of replacing something you already destroyed, we can get you something new, and you have 2 things instead of just one repeated. And so, he taught me to take care of my things and not destroy things. And I've got an entire Star Wars collection that I've wanted to save for my kids. Well, now my kids are 16 and 13. They barely even played with any of those Star Wars toys. They're my toys. Yeah. I've got a car collection of 273 cars, planes, trucks, and that sort of thing. Some are in mint condition, like I just bought them out and put them out of the package yesterday. Wow. Kids haven't ever played with them. And that's the objective that I had. I wanted to save them for future generations to be able to enjoy, but they haven't enjoyed it. They have their own things. In fact, my youngest at one point asked me to bring down the cars. And so I pulled out the cars, and he said, show me how to play, Dad. Wow. What? Show you how to play with cars? That was a tough one for me. So then I showed him how I'd grab pins and I'd make little streets, and I'd drive the cars around and make the houses with different. One was a Ferrari house, another one was a BMW house, and another car was a Lamborghini house, because all my Lamborghinis were in that one place. then he got bored and he went up and played Minecraft, where you can build all that stuff virtually and have fun along with his 5 other friends that are on the Xbox, and they play together. So, there's there's levels to where they don't need to play that way anymore. I see my kid playing on the computer, but he's talking to 5 different friends, and they're what would be a park, right? They're all playing in the park, and they're all got their ideas, and they're running as a group, and they're going after their different things. And it's like Minecraft and Roblox and that sort of stuff. So it's creative worlds to where they can create their own little reality. And I see them like playing in the park, except I can see that my son is there. He's safe. There's not somebody's going to, do away with them. They're not going to disappear. They're not going to get into all kinds of funky stuff that, oh, wait, what's this by this tree? So lots of stuff happened when our parents weren't around. We survived. We're stronger for it. That's great. But we also lost many along the way, which is what this PC culture and this overprotective culture wants to, bubble wrap the kids.
Yeah.
Which is dangerous because you never actually develop as a person. But at the same time, God, I would have loved some bubble wrap when I was a kid. Whenever you're digging 2 layers of gravel out of your knee because you went off on your bike without your knee pads, helmet, and everything else. I mean, it completely ripped through my jeans. By the time I got home, my jeans were all bloody, and so I took them off and I put my knee up on the sink. And as I was washing it out with soap and water, that burned enough. As I was washing it off, I felt these rough patches. I'm like, oh, a piece of gravel. And so I'm yanking this piece of gravel out of my knee, and then I'm starting to wash it, and it hurts a little bit more because it's a little bit deeper, and I feel something else. Oh, yay, another level of gravel. Yippee. I pulled 3 rocks out of my knee that day, washed it with alcohol to make sure that it was clean. Yeah, I was 8.
Yeah.
Parents were at work. I was a latchkey kid. So, you take care of yourself.
Wow.
But I tried to protect my kids as much as possible. One day, my son decided, he was 12. He decided he wanted to go help his godfather out to move some gravel, right? And so he's shoveling gravel into a wheelbarrow, and he's never done any of this before, but he's seen it done, so he figures it's easy, right? And so he starts pushing the wheelbarrow, and all of a sudden he slips, the wheelbarrow goes, and he just nails his knee on this gravel, and he's got a scar on his knee from falling in the gravel. And I couldn't protect him. I was standing right there when it happened. So no matter how much we want to protect them from not having the pains that we had, they're still going to have their own.
Sure.
Like, I wanted stability for my kids. I mean, I lived in 2 different cultures. I didn't know where my stuff was. Oh, where's that shirt, Mom? Oh, I think it's in the warehouse in Laredo, which is on the border, right? Because you go from one place, you leave stuff in the warehouse, and then you go on, and then you come back, and you pick up, switch out, and everything else. And you're always either have something in this house in Oklahoma or in Dallas, or you have stuff in the house in Mexico City. And which house in Mexico City we've moved? So are we still in boxes down there? Or we actually, no, we're still in boxes. We haven't put things up. And then you anticipate, you get there and you look for it and it's not there. Whereas, well, maybe it's in the warehouse where you're going, oh, where's my stuff? There was no stability or anything else. And so I wanted my kids to kind of have that. I mean, I lived in 12 different houses before I was, 18? Easily. Wow. My kids have only known this house.
Wow.
I built this before they were born, thinking of them, planning for them. I even had the layout of the beds and where the outlets were going to be, and I already had it set up to where I knew where eventually we'd put like the TV and the sound system and the computer, the console, and all the different outlets for all that kind of stuff. I just planned it in, and if I have 2 boys or 2 boys and a girl, or 3 girls, or a boy and 2 girls, or whatever, I had 2 rooms that were identical. I planned for a bathroom that wasn't completely integrated to where, get out of the bathroom, you've been in there for 20 minutes, what are you doing? So I wanted to avoid those problems. I've got 4 bathrooms here in the house, 2 downstairs, 2 upstairs. So always find one if you need one. And even that bathroom, I separated the wet area from the dry area to where somebody can be either on the commode or taking a shower, and the other one can be brushing their teeth, and they can still live without bothering each other. And so that was my main impetus. When I started building this place, I read an article that said that each individual should have around 2 square meters of greenery. That's about 20 square feet of green per person in order to absorb your carbon dioxide and give you oxygen for each individual. So it's a sustainable level. And so, okay, 4 or 5 kids, whatever. And so I planted, that'd be 10 square meters. That'd be about 100 square feet of just greenery, right? That's what I started with, just to be sustainable, just to make sure that we were doing our part. I had the oxygen to take care of my family's carbon footprint, our oxygen levels, and everything else. Plus, I saw the mountains that were completely green and covered in forest, and I saw mine that I bought the lot for the house, and it was just cut, nothing. I mean, it was red clay, hardened clay, nothing grew on it, right? And so I'm looking at this dead dirt, basically, and I'm looking at those mountains, and I'm going, well, crap. They cut that down so that they could sell this to me. So I'm going to build as much I can on that and just make, no. I bought 2 of them. And when my dad asked me, why do you want the second lot? I said, so that my kids have green grass to run on, and play in, and that sort of thing. And that's this back here. People they make fun of me because that's Michael's grass. Nobody has grass like this here. That's a lawn, but in the States, we all have one, but they're in here in Brazil, people really don't do it. It's a lot of maintenance. Yeah. It rains a lot all the time. And so we've got a little herb garden, like tomatoes and onions and cabbage and some eggplant and that sort of stuff. Strawberries, we've tried, but the weeds grow faster than what strawberries do, and they just end up tangling everything out. And it's really hard to get stuff to grow cleanly unless you're constantly maintaining it and everything else. And we got lives to do. We can't be farmers. That doesn't really sustain you, although it is one of my projects. You'll still help me one of these days. There was this article that I read, oh God, easily 10 years ago, about a hydroponic greenhouse, to where you have the different tomatoes and different plants to where you can grow with water, with nutrients, right? And so that goes into a fish pond.
Oh, yeah.
There's the study that had proven the right types of plants to generate the nutrients for the fish and the right kinds of fish that would feed the nutrients into the plant. So there's whole, chemistry and study on figuring out what actually works. Otherwise, everything just dies. So somebody's already done that. I just didn't spend you can know too for $150. No, I didn't spend the $150. I didn't have it, but I was curious and I wanted to figure it out. I still want to figure it out because when the Great Reset does happen and they want to shut down everybody's bank accounts like they're doing right now, just because you think differently,
it's terrible.
What you can't. Nobody can do it. The thing about the GameStop and the AMC?
Yeah. It's crazy.
They're pissed now because people said, oh, yeah, no, you can't do that. That's illegal. No, it's not. It's completely legal. You've been doing it for years. So you know what? We don't like it when you do it.
Right. Good for the big guys, not good for the little guys. But I guess that the Robinhood and some other apps were restricting.
Yeah, you couldn't buy.
But
you could only sell it.
They've lifted that because it was obviously very illegal. So the price doubled this morning, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, it's
that
really
means that some of the hedge, from what I heard on Red Pill, I think they took like a $60 billion hit or something like that, and it's still going up.
Yeah, it's going to go up.
But anyway, that's other. I don't like to talk about that. My book is more about this, the energy of the universe of what each individual can be, what our destiny is, how we can live in peace with the world and not be taken by it. because the world wants to lead us in a certain direction with all the, cybernetics and bionics and this and that and the other, and oh, I can get my own little bionic eye and I can see as good as an eagle. Yeah, but then Google can see everything that you're seeing. So can Microsoft, so can the Chinese, and so can your federal government that gives it to the FBI. Which is why in Star Wars, they said we don't allow those kinds in here, and they were talking about C-3PO and R2-D2 because droids record everything. That's why they couldn't be in Mos Eisley Cantina, because too many stuff happened there that you couldn't record.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So that's the problem with bionics. They own you from that point forward. Now, my dad has 2 hips.
Wow.
Sure. There are some things that you can accept because it's not necessarily controlling. Now, do they have trackers in them? I don't know. They could. Do they have a serial number to where if you don't make the payments, they can actually rip it out because it's not yours,
right.
it's theirs? I mean, I've seen movies like that to where there was this movie, I forgot what it was, came out a couple of years ago, to where people would buy lungs and stuff that were created. They'd like take the cells and they'd like 3D print a heart or something like that, and then they'd rent it to you. They wouldn't sell you the heart, they'd rent it to you. And if you didn't pay the rent, they'd come in and take the heart back, basically killing you. It's just Hollywood, folks. It's not real
yet.
No, it's not real. Your government doesn't want you to bend over and take it kindly. Oh, the Chinese do. The new COVID swab. Oh God, how far are they willing to push, man? I mean, when is enough enough?
Yeah, well, it's going to be funny to see what people will do. I mean, yeah, like you said, they got the butt swabs, but now I'm waiting for them to say, oh, it works better if you ingest it again and then check it. I wonder how many will do that.
Hey, I'm sure there's some out there that get a kick out of it.
Whoa.
There are those fetishes.
Oh my God. Yeah, I can't imagine. That's horrifying.
No, there are lots of things that I can't imagine, but will actually be, unfortunately, they'll become common knowledge of our culture in the near future.
Yeah. Let's hope that it all comes out, all this crazy stuff.
I'm not sure if we're going to get into this in this episode. I'd prefer to keep it more on an upbeat note.
Okay. Yeah, let's keep it on an upbeat. Yeah.
There's so much we can talk because we got nothing in common, Mr. Moriarty. No, we don't think alike. No, we're not talking about UFOs. No, we're not talking about other dimensions. No, we got nothing in common, Mr. Moriarty. Nothing at all to talk about.
Really? I think we got a lot to talk about.
Obviously, that was sarcasm, my friend.
Okay.
But right. Yeah, take everything opposite of what I said. However, I do love the Q and the Truth Quest, but that's a topic for another day. The title of my book, which hasn't come out yet, I'm still working on it. In my my video productions are basically my book in quick video form. It's sort of the outline of what the book's going to contain. But basically it's taking the energy flows from creation, from the Big Bang, and following the gravitational fields and pulls and interactions between individual light beams, photons, just coming together over time, gently, slowly, revolving and creating what we know as mass. Looking at Nikola Tesla's explanation of Albert Einstein's equation, E equals mc squared, and Nikola Tesla said, yeah, the formula is okay, except he thinks that material is the known and the unknown is energy. In reality, energy is everything. What we don't know about is material, mass. So that got me thinking, and I took that same equation, I inverted it to make M equals, and you find out that it's energy decelerated. So I started going into the physics of slowing down light that can't be slowed down, but you change the vector of it. So if you can actually change the vector enough, it becomes a stagnant ball because it's all rotating in one area, and that becomes what we see as mass. the quanta, and you take the quantum, which you got three quanta that are placed together to create different elements, electrons, neutrons, protons. They're all made by different quarks. And so I take the evolution of that energy, how you can transfer the energy between the different levels, throughout physics. And that's why my last episode was about chemistry and biology, because that's where my book kind of broke down, because I couldn't explain that part the best. I mean, so we see energy flows through physics. Fine. You got electromagnetism. We got, all kinds of engineering degrees to tell us how forces interact and they flow, right? But we don't necessarily see that transfer into what we're now thinking is woo-woo science of the thoughts of positivity, positive thinking, that theory, not new, but more commonly known now, the theory of one. We're all one, and it's all just, yeah, kind of, sort of. But what I want to eventually get to in the book is describe the importance. The title is The Universe and You, Why Both Are Important. Okay. So I was explaining, like a philosopher will tell some arrogant politician that says, do you know who I am? And he points out that he's one among 7.5 billion on one planet around billions of other planets. So yeah, he is nobody. Well, if that's the case, none of us are important. Nothing really matters. So let's all just jump off a bridge and be done with it. But no, each individual matters, because we all make up reality as a whole. For example, Benjamin Franklin, I believe, once said that it doesn't matter what you do because it's insignificant, but it is of absolute importance that you do it. Oh yeah, you're a doorman. Yeah, but I'm a doorman at Trump Tower. Yeah, but you're a doorman. Yeah, well, how else are you going to get into Trump Tower? Okay. I'm a driver. Oh, you're a driver. Yeah. Uber driver. Congratulations. Yeah, I talk to more people than you do, you know. So there are benefits to each existence and each reality, and the amount of influence that we can have on others is basically the only option that we've got in this world. Part of my book basically explains who can you control. You can only control yourself. Okay. And you got to love yourself, because if you're not going to love yourself, nobody else is going to either. So then once you learn to control your own emotions and you learn to love yourself, you can learn to love others. And you don't force or manipulate others to do what you want them to do. There are certain things that you need, and you can bargain, you can influence, but you can't make other people do that. We have freedom of choice. It's a God gift. It's what he gave us as our first gift, was freedom of choice. We can choose what we want to do, but we're also responsible for those choices. So, considering we can't force other people to do it. Well, we can, but it's not right. We can influence others through the words that we say, through the energies that we put out to them, through the helping, thoughts or words that we tell them. It's what PC is trying to force everybody to do. Oh, we should all just be nice. You should stop being mean to people. Whoa! But they're always, whoa! It's always the freaking wah. And that means that they're actually propagating that negative energy forward. And so the PC culture is actually doing the opposite of what they tell you that they're supposed to do, which is what this entire world has been doing to us all the time anyway. They lie to us. I mean, what did Sleepy Joe say? No, fracking, continue doing that. No, not gonna do it. Why? Because he can, because he lies through his teeth, because they all do, and they know it works. So if we know that everybody's lying, you got to do your own thing. Forget them, forget the world. Just be you and be it in the best way that you can. I mean, there's a centurion that came up to Jesus and said, look, I got a family, I got a job. I can't leave this and just go follow you. What am I supposed to do? He said, well, be a good centurion. Don't take bribes. Don't beat people. Don't torture people. Be just. Be honest. Be a good centurion. Do what you do. Just do it well, thinking of God while you're doing it. I mean, you want to put the hammer down on somebody? Do you want somebody putting the hammer down on you? Okay, just saying, you know. So you're going to do your job in the way that you're not trying to prove anything to your boss. You're not trying to prove anything to your customer. You're trying to prove something to God. On, he's going to be sitting with you and going, yeah, that day, you know, that wasn't a good day for you, was it, buddy? You pissed off a lot of people that day. And ooh, it's not a month. Wow, really? You were in a bad mood for that whole month, huh? Yeah, I know why, but still, dude, seriously, you did that? Come on, you know you can't do that. There's nobody else around. There's nobody, but he told, no, it's just you and your father sitting down going, let's talk about your life, buddy. We were both there the whole time. So it's all out on the table. And so you live your life thinking about that because everything will be out on the table, period. No matter how much you lie about it, no matter how much you hide it, no matter how much you try and twist the truth or obfuscate or draw their attention somewhere else, it's there and it will always be there because they got the Akashic records as well, so they can tap into those at any time. So, you know, levels of understanding, which was the first episode in my video selections, depends on what perception that you're looking at. The Akashic records are like up here. Okay, so most people aren't going to get that, and we've got beating, bribing, and lying to survive basically down here. So it's what level on that Maslow's pyramid have you reached? You know, are you beyond survival? Are you then onto your self-esteem or into, you know, self fulfillment, which means, like the Japanese said, reaching your destiny is the ultimate goal and objective in this life, is finding out what your destiny is so that you can do it. Because we all came here with specific programming, a specific function. And so there is one best way for our life to be. However, there are a million options from the day you're born to the day that you really can't change your course of action anymore, which is usually when you got 6 people carrying your ass. Each one of those decisions is real. It is free will. But quantumly speaking, they all exist. So you make one choice, that's fine. There's another section of you that made another choice. Okay, so the probability is 75% of you went this way, but 25% of you went that way. And out of the 75%, 50% went that way, but you got another 30% went that way, and another 20% went that way. And so they start branching off. And those are the different multiverses and the different realities that we see mesh and combine whenever their various combinations actually come into sync. When Mr. Basage was talking about an absolute timeline, right? There are things that are immutable because they're always going to be that way, because quantumly speaking, the probability is that they will be that way. Now, is each individual multiverse like that? No, each one is its own little universe with its own probabilities within it. But in the grander scale, quantumly speaking, we all go towards the probability. Okay. Yeah, so how did I get back to that point again? That's how we work and we influence other people. We only have an option of seeing reality. And so part of what tied up my book is I wanted to take from the quantum physics into the psychological, philosophical, and religious aspect of doing unto others. Right? How are we going to behave tomorrow and why? Yeah, we've got 10 commandments. And when I was a kid, I used to question every single one of them. I'm like, why? Why that? Why that one? Why that one? Why that one? Why not the other one? But after a while, you start figuring out, oh, yeah, if I can kill somebody, they're going to want to kill me, or their brother's going to want to kill me. And then you got the Hatfields and McCoys. Okay, I get that one. Let's try not to kill people. Bad shit happens. So I can't steal. Yeah, well, he's got something really nice. I'd like to have that. Ooh, I can't think about that either. The thoughts, everything is in energy levels. You've got your thoughts, which are rolling around. Some people have many more of them than others, and others, their thoughts are more focused on a specific thing. The more thoughts you have focused in a specific area or energy, they expand and they grow to become actual words. You think about something enough, you're going to talk to somebody about it because you're going to want to bounce ideas off. And then once your words bounce off somebody else, you start creating thoughts in them. And so all of a sudden, all that snowballing effect of thoughts become actions, and actions become reality. So all of these the probabilistic multiverse is defined by our actions. What we do is the universe that we're in. We are the result of the conscious and physical decisions that we made along our entire timeline. However, your thoughts are also power. So if you have some thoughts, negative thoughts, even though they're only 20%, you went 75% this way, but that 25% created another potential multiverse with lots of other reactions to it. So the more focused we maintain our mindset on the positive thoughts, on positive outcomes, on goals, on what you want to reach, how you can get there, how you can help other people along the way, how you can benefit humanity, mankind, your brother, your sister, your wife, your kids, your uncles, your aunts, whoever, your friend, or the bum at the mall that you saw yesterday, looking for a cigarette. When you help the smallest of these, you are helping me as well, saith the Lord. Just saying, help everybody. Whenever we maintain our mind on those focuses, we reduce the potentiality for other multiverses. Okay? But if you start getting influences from the television and from other things that guide your mind in a different way, even though you don't do those things, you're thinking about them. And one of those realities, you're actually going to do it because you thought about it enough, because you started talking about it, because then you eventually did it. In one of those multiverses, that will become a reality. So to cut off that reality before it even starts, which is why we need to control our mindset as well. Many people live in fear, and that creates a plethora of other multiverses that are non-beneficial, because fear is the opposite of hope. Fear,
Worrying.
Quoting Yoda, I guess, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to death. Okay, those are all the dark side. The opposite of those is the light side. So the opposite of anger is joy or happiness. The opposite of hate is love. The opposite of fear is hope. Okay, so we put all those things in on the blood of Jesus Christ on that hope side, because he's the one that pulled us out of the darkness, because this world is dark. It is full of hate. It is full of fear. It is full of apprehension and violence and maleficence. But we don't have to live in that. There's a saying that says, we are in the world, we are not of it. So even though we're in the middle of all this morass, that doesn't make us the morass. Okay, we need to grow above it, to grow above the weeds. Okay, separate the wheat from the tares, right? So we need to grow above the weeds, which means becoming more stronger, richer, more powerful. No, those are all the weeds. The fruit is how you help others. What does it matter if you're rich as all get up, but you don't help anybody? You don't love anybody. You just control everybody. Right. Like Mr. BG or the guy from, Amazing Products, A through Z, right? Those billionaires, they're not helping anybody. They say they're philanthropists and they give to these. They're not. They're laundering money. They're keeping it away from the taxes. They're making sure they can give it to their kids and their friends without being taxed on all that. And they're keeping it safe in case they get sued. I got nothing, man. It's all in a trust fund.
And they're censoring.
No. Yeah, they censor everything because they're losing control.
Yeah.
Before, they didn't have to censor because they were the only voice in town.
Right.
Think about 1984. When I was growing up, we had 4 channels: ABC, NBC, CBS, and PBS on 13. Yeah. That was it. And if you got lucky, you got 2 on VHF or UHF. 34 and 23. I think one was from Chicago or something like that. And that was it. You had 5 chances, and not everybody got on there. And so, again, it's an honor. to be on a show. After all, Mr. Basaggio said that he recognized your name from
Yeah.
future.
Wow. I was blown away by that.
That guy's amazing. I mean,
He really
kudos
is.
to you for getting him and Corey good. That was just absolutely fantastic.
Well, I'm proud of everyone who have gotten on the show. I think Andy, he's got such an incredible.
Hold on. I got a helicopter going over here.
Oh wow. So now, how often in Brazil? How often do you have to shovel snow down there?
Okay. There's a military helipad back here, so once or twice a day. It's about 1.5 miles off that way, but they usually fly overhead to get there. So sorry about that. Repeat. I didn't hear a damn thing.
Oh, that's okay. So there's a usual thing that military helicopters are around there.
They just patrol. It's usually not that usual or that normal. For example, something's going on now that he's circling around.
Maybe something's happening because Saudi Arabia,
he's right there, and he's flying low.
Oh, he's trying to get.
You won't be able to see him, but he's right back there, and he's flying low.
He's trying to get on the show. He's trying to get on the show. He's trying to get on the show.
No, I've got my roof, and they can't see me from the satellites, and I've got my forest and everything else, so I've got privacy. So only I know what happens in my home, and I keep it that way. Although I have these cameras in my cell phone, and we got cameras everywhere, like 1984, they know everything at all times. There's no getting away from the system.
Yeah, they put listening devices in it, even. Probably this little lamp, they probably have a listening device in it. Who knows, Yeah, it's crazy. But like you were saying, once we can see ourselves in others, if we can see ourselves in others, if we can see that everyone is God's creation like us, if we can see ourselves in others, then we won't harm anyone else, because that's just another version of us.
That's the objective. Because we are.
Yeah.
We're all different. Think about it this way. God knows all, sees all. He is everywhere. He is beyond time. He saw the end from the beginning. Why? Because he saw one quantum computation. He already did the math in his head. So much so that this reality exists because of his head. And there's some stuff in quantum physics that actually tells us that consciousness, that this was a debate between Niels Bohr and Einstein 98 years ago, or 94 years ago. They were debating this exact same thing. And so when Bohr was telling Einstein that the experiments required consciousness in order for mass to be defined, and Einstein said, yeah, but whose consciousness? If I'm not thinking about the moon, does that mean the moon doesn't exist? No, whose consciousness is defining those things? This is nuts. It can't be that way. God doesn't throw dice in probabilities, which was Einstein's idea, that God was throwing dice. No, we're the ones throwing dice. God already did all the calculations. He knows all of the moves and how they went out, which is why he tries to guide us in a way that's going to be more beneficial for everyone, and usually for ourselves. Because if we do the things that he usually asks us to do, we end up benefiting from it greatly, even if in the beginning it doesn't seem that way. Because long-term rewards are always better than short-term goals. But sorry, I digressed again.
That's okay. Now, the last time we talked, which was a while ago, you were working on some videos of like short Bible verses, as it relates to everyday life, and little short videos. And I thought that was a great idea. How is that going?
Well, they were going fine as long as I kept. I had a couple of friends that kept giving me topics. Oh, I want to hear about chaos theory, and what about this other theory? Could you explain that? And so I kind of go down that. And being somebody that loves physics, that was fun and entertaining. But the focus of it was to bring it back to my book, and the eventual idea of the channel would be to Dear Abby.
Oh, wow.
You call in and you say, hey, look, I got a problem. Well, think about it this. Jordan Peterson, for example, but his is all based on psychology and Kant and Nietzsche and these guys, and I've read all of them as well. But I wanted it more from an energetic level and that sort of thing. The thing that I'd mentioned about you, I was also a teacher at a Sunday school, and so I wanted to do a parables thing, but I haven't gotten the Doodly software yet, which is what I want to use for that. But my channel you can find on Rumble. It's Pena Perspective, okay, PENA_perspective at rumble.com. And so I've got 11 episodes on there. I did one yesterday on the thing. It was jammed for about 5 months because I couldn't get that episode down on paper and out of my head. This book is finished, but it's still in my brain. It's the physical part that hasn't come out yet. Okay, it's that third level of energy that I haven't gotten to because I'm sort of a perfectionist. I don't want it to come out and then people later on say, yeah, but you were wrong there. Well, if it's a different perspective, that's fine. I can be wrong. It's not. But if it's because I made a mistake because I didn't study hard enough or I didn't find out as much and I'm fucking telling lies in the book, no, they're going to hold my feet to the fire. And so these things, like the videos and everything else, the internet is forever. I'll be 85 years old and somebody will find out, oh yeah, you still had hair when you made that interview with Mr. Moriarty. I can't believe you were on his show. Yeah. And they'll be making fun of me because I'll be in adult diapers, balding and with a mask going, I remember those days. I felt old, but I was so young. Anything you do or say nowadays will be recorded and will be permanent. And so I usually try and be careful in what I make. Permanent in that respect. And that's why my episodes paused for a while. But with yesterday's episode, I got over that hump, and I think I'm being inspired, man, by you, by Red Pill, by Methods, by, the community that's growing, the fact that YouTube kicked everybody off. And so we're finding new things. And what better time to get on the ground floor, of Pilled, of the Foxhole app, of DLive, which I had a tough time getting on there. Now what they've done, they sold out. So they're worse than YouTube to me. But, and I haven't been able to get my videos up on Gab, and I'm already on Minds. I was there 5 years ago, but I need to reactivate my account basically because I forgot my password and everything else. So yeah, being on these new, it's a wave. It's seeing that wave out in the ocean. We're coming into a digital world, and this pandemic was rolled out to break the real economy, increase the virtual economy, and make sure that people became much more comfortable with interconnected isolation. See, the work from home thing is taken off. My wife actually, there are some people that have gone back to the office, but since she's got high blood pressure and she's a risk category, she continues doing her meetings, on her computer. She works on a computer. She's a systems analyst. So there wasn't that much of a difficulty of her working from home. I do translations right now to pay the bills. So, they send me an email and I translate to whatever they need. And I send them back to them via email. I mean, I didn't see my boss for a year and 2 months. I went in, I saw him, I got the interview, I got the job, and as soon as I got home, I got my email, and that was in September of 2019, and I just saw him in January of 2021. So that entire time I hadn't even stepped foot in that office. And so it's a new reality, and but not everybody's ready for that. Okay, it's shocked that insult that everybody had. Well, just learn to code. Yeah, that's easy for you to say. I mean, some people don't want to code. They don't like coding. I mean, I started programming when I was 7 years old. I mean, I was on an Atari 400 and I saw this magazine that had the program in the magazine.
Wow.
It was 36 pages of programs, and I'm going, holy cow. Well, okay.
Wow.
3.5 days of typing,
Wow.
and I made an ice labyrinth, ice maze.
Oh, cool.
Every room looked like every other room, and I was lost after the first 2 minutes. I said, I spent 3 days making this crap? Hell no. I prefer to pay $45 and I got this, video game that I, clunk in there and I'm going pew, 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 pew. No, I get it. That's a lot better than going, wait, maybe I need, where was the code to where this wall, maybe it has a different, sorry, that's not me. Could. Sure, I'm not an idiot. But do I want to? Is it going to be the best for reality for me? No.
Yeah.
Does that mean that I'm not virtual? No, I've been virtual since 95. I mean, when I was at the University of Texas in 1990, I had a friend of mine who was down in the computer room, and I was writing up, my term paper or whatever, and he was sitting there laughing. I'm going, what you doing? Oh, I'm playing a game. Really? But it's just text. Yeah, I'm playing at the University of California. Oh, really? Cool. What do you guys? Well, it's he went into the describe what kind of, and I don't remember what it was now. It was popular back in the day, to where it was just text. It was kind of, it reminds me of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or something like that, but it wasn't that. It was something else. But I thought, wow, that's cool. He's talking in real time, typing in real time with a guy from California, UCLA. And we were in Austin, Texas. And so I thought that was really cool. In 95, I was living in 96, I was living in Richardson in Dallas. And we got the first fiber optics in the country. We're run right behind my house.
Wow.
So we had high-speed internet back in 95.
Wow.
But we still had to wait because
Yeah.
you've got mail. I used to love that sound. You've got mail. Somebody remembered. Yay, I'm not alone in the world. You've got mail.
Yes.
And that dates me now because, you tell a millennial you've got mail and he's going, what? What do you mean? And then he checks, no, there's nothing on WhatsApp. It's,
yeah.
Oh God,
one.
WhatsApp is out. Signal. Sorry, that's the new one. I'm dating myself.
Yeah, I date myself all the time, but it's okay. I'm a cheap date.
Dates, lots of dates. 2012. Do you remember what was mentioned in 2012?
Hey, that's the year the world ended, and this is all a dream, right?
Okay, but whose perspective was it, or who were they? The world was going to end, and everybody knew it was real, but it didn't end.
It didn't. No.
But
Still
it did.
going.
But it did. That idea was based on the Mayan calendar. And let me ask you a question. Does the world end on December 31st?
No.
No, the world continues just into a new year.
Yeah.
And so 2012 was the end of one 25,000 year cycle.
Right.
And we would then be transitioning into a new 25,000 year cycle, brand new year on the calendar. One human social evolution, let's say. But there's going to be a transition period between 2012 and 2019, with the worst parts of the transition being between 2014 and 2016. Okay, so that's where humanity was really going to make the choice of which big wheel they would choose. Because if humanity chose the negative big wheel, humanity wouldn't survive, we would destroy ourselves, and we wouldn't make it through those 25,000 year cycle.
Sure.
But if we chose well and we decided to go towards light and peace, love, and that sort of thing, then we would get onto another cycle in the 25,000 year. It's like we got two cycles and we had to choose which route to go. And the choice was kind of had to be made, the worst of it, between 2014 and 2016. But I mentioned again, they had that transition period between 2012 and 2019. So what's the year that comes after 2019?
2020.
That was a really fun year, wasn't it?
Perfect vision. Yep.
Because it's breaking with the old. We're starting a brand new 25,000 year cycle, which was defined back in 2014 and 2016 by humanity in which direction they wanted to go. And so it's kind of like a snake. When it grows too big, it's got to shed its skin so it can continue to grow. We are shedding our evil skin because humanity chose wisely, I hope. We chose Trump. So it tells me that in 2016, we chose wisely. With Hillary, we'd be dead already. And with this dumbass in power now, we're very close to it again. But we're shedding that. That is the evil past. That is that reality that we must grow beyond, because they were talking about whenever we come into alignment with a big rift, which is what today we recognize the Milky Way galaxy. And what we recognize is that big black spot in the sky is the Milky Way galaxy, but that's the equator of the Milky Way galaxy. So what they were talking about is we were going to be going through and think about the Earth isn't round, it's sort of oval because it's bulged at the equator because centripetal force, makes it bulge at the equator. And the same thing happens with the galaxy. And so you have a greater concentration of energies and things around that the equator. And so when we're going past that galactic equator, it's what Elon Musk talked about, the great filter, which kind of, they're also in the Bible, it talks about the new heaven and a new earth. The stars will fall from the sky and, a new heaven will be created. Well, I see different stars down here in Brazil than you do.
Right.
I don't see the North Star. I don't know where the North Star is, but I see the cross, because the Southern Cross, which is one of the navigational tools they used in the Southern Hemisphere, right? Because the stars are different.
Right.
Well, of course, because you're seeing part of.
And that shoots a hole in the whole flat Earth theory now, doesn't it?
Look, if I have a flat earther come to me and tell me something, that's fine. He can unfollow. That's his free choice. I just ask him to walk to the edge of the earth.
Yeah.
Sure. Try that. There is no edge of the earth because it's round. It's not round. It's a sphere. And really, it's not a sphere. It's more of like an oval and it's more like a football. So, yeah. There are things about, space doesn't exist, we're not going to say that the moon is made out of cheese, but
my mom's teacher told me that
when they knocked on it and it rang like a bell for an hour.
Because it was hollow. Yeah, it's hollow.
It's tidally locked to the Earth. There's no other moon in our solar system that is tidally locked as far as I know. In order to study SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, at the University of Texas, I had to study astronomy for a full year beforehand just to qualify. And I had as an objective to study SETI. And so I studied a year of astronomy and then got into SETI for another year. It was an elective. Pissed my dad off. He didn't like that I was taking that course, but
that's cool.
I've been fascinated by the Bermuda Triangle, the Nasca lines ever since when I was 7 years old, and I was reading in the school library about the Bermuda Triangle. 6 years old about the Bermuda Triangle. 7, I was reading about Nasca lines because I already read everything about Atlantis, right? Which is what I assume Bermuda Triangle was. Not necessarily, but kind of close. Is there a pyramid in Bimini? That's something that's another rabbit hole I need to get into.
I heard that too, under the water off of Bimini.
You know, somebody mentioned that there's a Bermuda Triangle up by Alaska now. It's where they've got more than 1,000. There was a YouTube channel that I saw, or was it on Rumble, that I saw a couple of days ago talking about that. Actually, I thought it was yesterday. It's relatively recent news they came out with it. So we've got those anomalies. You've got those pyramids. I mean, I went into 5 pyramids at least in Mexico because I was young. I was in Mexico. My dad liked to take us to the beach, and Mexicans are very proud of our culture, our pre-Hispanic culture, and so we go. You see these huge temples, and then you look at the rocks, and you see a spaceship carved into the rock.
Right.
Makes you think. And then you got the Nasca lines, and I've been to Machu Picchu. That's a wonderful place. Actually, I took a bottle of wine, and while everybody was escorted to the novelty restaurant area, to where you can spend all your cash on expensive food and knickknacks, I decided to take that hour to go to the lower levels of Machu Picchu, where they actually used to grow their crops. And I went to the entrance to the trail that leads out of Machu Picchu, okay? Because they didn't use the roads there. There was this trail down the bottom. The legend has it goes all the way here to Brazil.
Wow.
Actually, about 40, 50 miles from where this house is, supposedly is the other end of that trail.
Wow.
I'd be curious to find that one. So yeah, I was sitting down there and I was smoking a cigarette, a Camel cigarette, and drinking my wine there in Machu Picchu, watching a chinchilla play. You know, a chinchilla, it looks like a rabbit, but it's not. It's just, it's hard to describe. Just look up chinchilla, because I had to find out what that damn thing was, but it was, I didn't even know those things existed. I thought it was like a Pokemon animal or something, but it's a chinchilla. But it was, they were fun to watch, and there were no humans around because they're all busy spending their money. And you get to see a condor flying through the air, and they had told me that condors hadn't flown there for a while, so that was a special treat for me to see the condor. And you're not allowed to smoke, no fire, no anything anywhere anymore. And so it was and you can't bring anything from outside there. So yeah, I was me being me, following my own rules, because I was on the lower section of Machu Picchu, drinking a great bottle of wine from one of the best wineries that we have here in the south of Brazil, which I enjoyed. I took with me over there specifically for that, and smoking my cigarette there on the edge of the jungle on the bottom layer of Machu Picchu. That was sitting on collapsed columns, because there were these big stones that were just collapsed on the side. And so I was just sitting on top of one of those, just enjoying the view and the silence and the tranquility. And it was, yeah, that was a nice experience. Definitely.
Interesting. You know, I don't know if I mentioned this on one of my previous shows, but many years ago in Omni magazine, remember that magazine?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That was a great magazine.
I liked it.
Maybe you remember
I think that's where I found out where they had the 57 different races and 25 different levels under Area 51, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Some of those magazines that I read a lot when I was a kid. I didn't play, I read.
Yeah, me too. So there was this one episode or one issue where they were talking, this researcher, he went to Egypt to study the pyramids, okay? And he went to like a local, like a street merchant area for the locals. And he noticed this old man, he was making a stone hammer. And he had the handle pre-made, and then he had like a mold for the rock handle. And he mixed like ground up rock with the munched up 3 different kinds of plants that used to be very prevalent in the area, created an acid, which made it, you could pour it into the mold, and then boom, you have a stone handle, a stone. So he got
molded stone.
Yes. And those 3 plants were very plentiful back in the day. So he got permission, which is very hard to do, to get a small sample of the outer coating of the pyramid. He got it. And it showed under like an electron microscope, it showed traces of that plant material. So
in the pyramids in Giza.
yeah. And that was a long time ago, but now people are, how did they do it? Well, that's why you can't get a credit card in, because they had a slab.
It's molded.
It's molded. Yeah. They're molded.
But that explains so much.
Yeah.
Have you seen the videos about the large antediluvian structures in South America?
Yeah, the big
Peru, in Cusco. Whenever you go to Machu Picchu, you get there you get to the capital Lima, then you go to Cusco, which is higher up. Cusco is actually higher than Machu Picchu. That's really bizarre. That's a mind fuck. But Cusco is higher than Machu Picchu. I think it's like 2,300 meters up. That's like a mile and a half up. You know, put Denver and then plus a half of Denver up.
Right.
It's the nosebleed section,
Sure.
which is the reason why you get there and you have to rest in your hotel room. You get to the hotel room and they've got coca tea. Okay, it's boiled coca leaves, right? And you get there and you have the tea because it opens up your arteries so that your blood flow can adjust to the altitude.
Oh, wow.
And you feel tired, you feel lethargic and everything else, and you lay down and you just shut off. I mean, apaga is what they say in Portuguese. You're out like a light.
Wow.
And then you sort of wake up and you feel this tingling go down your body. And I didn't drink the tea, but I was just exhausted. So I didn't want anything. I just wanted to rest. And then I noticed, after when I woke up, there was this tingling feeling just went through my body. And I felt when it went past my toes, I said, okay, I'm ready. Let's go. My body had acclimated to it. And so I had energy again and I was okay. But it took me time for my body to adapt. And that was brought up in Mexico City. I mean, also extremely high. But the reason that they've got the coca leaves is because of the altitude, and it opens up your arteries. And there are Indian tribes that don't have clinics or anything else, but they have really low cardiovascular disease because they're chewing on coca leaves for a large portion of the day.
Sure.
Now, the things that we Western modern man has made from that is a deturpation, industrialization, and basically a destruction of what it was originally intended for, which is to help people in high altitudes live. Mm-hmm. It's a lot different than, helping a stockbroker stay awake because, if they're on 24-hour time, they might be closed here, but they're open in Hong Kong and, we got to make that sale. Yeah, that's not life. That's only this modern life. That's not what people have lived for hundreds of thousands of years, or in some cases, in some studies and some perspectives, maybe millions of years. Neither here nor there. I'm not going to debate that. But we've been here for a while, and in few of those occasions have we lived the way we're living today. The human body is not adapted for the lifestyle that we have today. And so we have to reinvent how we treat our bodies to bring it back, because our body is natural. Our soul and our mind and our thoughts, they evolve and everything else, but the body we're animals. And so we're in this flesh suit, let's say. And so we still have to make it work. It doesn't matter if you're driving a VW Bug, but you want to be driving a Lamborghini. Sorry, you're not going to go 230 miles an hour because you're in a fucking Bug. So just accept the fact that you're in a VW Bug. It's a great little car. You can fix it whenever you want, and it goes for freaking ever. And maintenance costs zero, insurance costs zero. So it has its benefits. Enjoy your VW Bug, or enjoy your Lamborghini if you actually have one of those, Brad Pitt being one of those. But you're in the vehicle that you're in, and you need to treat it well. Otherwise, it's going to be a short trip. Now, Mr. Basaggio tells us that there are other versions of that trip. That's fine. I don't know about that yet. my father told me that let's focus on this one while we're here,
Yeah.
because this is the one that we can affect.
First
You know,
things first. First things first.
First things first. And the only quanta in time that matters is the present quanta.
That's all we got. That's all we ever had.
That's it. Now,
Yeah.
do we live the consequences of our past quanta? Yes. Are we building stones for our future quanta? Yes. But the only quanta that we can actually affect, change, alter is this moment right now. So yeah, let's enjoy life. That's hard for me in a lot of occasions because I see so much of the stuff, and I like to know, and I like to delve, and you know it's frustrating, it's saddening, and it can just why and, but then we have to find a way to be happy, and that's something that I'm trying to get to where I can't finish my book until I live by it. Otherwise I'm just a hypocrite. I can't tell people that, they need to be exuding positive energy and be careful of their thought processes and choices whenever I'm cursing at people, got bad habits, and do things that I definitely shouldn't be fucking doing. So I guess I'm only going to be able to finish my book once I learn from it. I don't know how that works. It's one of those quantum puzzles. But let's say the book is transforming me. Maybe, perhaps the process is making me a better person. I hope. Still, there's lots of deviations. The thing I wanted to talk about. Sorry, Nasca Cusco. I got off on the other tangent. I do that. I'm sorry. In Cusco, there's a ridge around the city that if you look at it from above, it's the head of a panther.
Oh, wow.
It's got you can see like the eye socket and the snout, and, you see the tooth, and, then you got think about like the Carolina Panthers, that logo, just put it on the ground and raise it up.
Wow.
And that is the citadel around Cusco. And so when you go to the base of that mountain, you realize that it's 4 or 5 blocks, but each one of those blocks is like 20 feet tall and 15 feet wide, and God knows how many feet deep, and they all fit. They've got molds in them to where they've got like pegs and where they fit so they can't shift.
Right.
And I was looking at those going, and I'm thinking about how we can maybe liquefy things through vibrations and that sort of thing. I'm thinking about there was this show on Netflix called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But there was this one thing to where there was this little obelisk that at a certain time, a certain frequency, it would become liquid, and the liquid would overtake you, and then it would solidify again, and it would take you with it to that other dimension. It's like, oh shit, liquid rock. Ooh, funky rocks. But what if they actually could liquefy rocks? And that explains so much about these things. For example, there are cuts in some of these
walls.
It's not Cusco. It's another place. They're close by. I can't remember the name of it now. But you can see the stones. It's almost like a laser cut, because the cuts in the stone are so perfect, and it's not saws because you see no razor edge or wear, where the disc goes, and you can see where the disc actually goes, and it's got square corners, and it's just long. It's think about 25 feet of a perfectly straight line that's probably about a centimeter thick, just perfect.
Yeah.
People 500 years ago built this.
Yeah, those copper chisels are amazing, aren't they?
They do a fantastic job on granite, man. Let me tell you. So I was thinking about that they were using resonance to melt the rock and put it into place. However, it's a lot easier to break it up into pieces, put it together with a couple of spit walls of different plants. Chew up this plant, chew up that. We got our own stone. That would be amazing. Imagine the things we could build if we could actually recreate that.
Yeah.
I did not know that. So thank you for that information, Mr. Moriarty.
I don't know why. I don't know why it's not more widely known, because it was in that very popular magazine. But also, if you look at some of the stone walls made up of many different, and they're cut kind of funny. But if you look at it from the side, they're bowing out, almost like when you cook something, it bows out. So
no, but whenever you're molding something, you don't have to cook it. Just think about a mold. You have to put more strength on the center of it, because it will. It's like the earth, it bulges because it's got more mass. Gravity's pulling it.
Right. So look at the walls and think molding. That might be how they did it. Whether they used, like you said, sound vibration to make it, because I've seen too in earthquakes, the ground will like swallow cars because
it will liquefy.
It liquefies, the ground. Yeah. So it could be a combination of the two, but very interesting.
All those are hidden technologies that have been, I think you were talking about with Mr. Basaggio about when we were young, they told us that we'd have flying cars and we'd be able to vacation on the moon and that sort of stuff. And now we can't even leave our house. So what happened?
Right.
There are these scientific advances that they don't want us to know. Why? Because it's easier to keep us tied to gasoline, tied to limited movement. Or if we do move, we move virtually, which means they can track and control absolutely everything. New technologies would be liberating for humanity.
Oh, yeah.
The problem is that pushing 9 billion people, I don't know how free the society can actually be responsible enough to take. And that's unfortunately why it has been written that there will be a one world government, one world religion, and a mark that tracks everybody and changes who you are. It's not me saying it.
No.
2,000 years ago, some guy wrote it down on a couple of pieces of parchment, and we've been seeing it play out for a couple of millennia now. Still waiting for the trumpets. Maybe that was one of the first ones. The trumpets.
Yeah, trumpets.
Sorry, that was another joke, I guess. The trumpets. There are 7 trumpets in Revelation, and some people have been having Trump and his lousy little weasel of a vice president, Pence. So you put those together, trumpets, like it sounds like trumpets.
It does.
Like
that. Yes, it does.
That's good. But I don't know. That's just hearsay. But the things that are supposed to happen, we're seeing. Never before has it been possible for you to track every single human being on the planet. 98% of the people on this planet have cell phones. That's more than landlines. They know where everybody is at all times. And now they've got even more control on what we can say, what we can do, where we can go. No, they can't be there. Yeah, but China's already doing it. No, but that's China. Yeah, it was developed by Google, and they want to use their stuff here too. You don't think it's going to come in. And so we play with fire whenever we think that stuff's not real, because it's hokey. It's got nothing to do with anything that I've been, TV didn't tell me that, so it ain't real.
Right.
Okay, sorry. There were people, and Noah was around for 120 years. What you doing, Noah? I'm building a boat. What do you mean a boat? Because it's gonna rain. You're nuts, Noah. Yeah, yeah. 120 years. Yo, Noah, where's that fucking flood? Huh, dumbass? Yeah. What's that, rain? Oh, shit. Hey, Noah, you got... Oh, he closed the door. Whoa, I guess he was right.
The unicorns didn't get on that day. The unicorns missed the boat.
The great majority missed the boat. There's only 8 that made it. And you know that that's even tracked in China. There are some of the words that there was this video of this Chinese Christian, and he was telling them how the Bible and Christianity is embedded in the images that they have in their words.
Mm.
You know, so he was looking at words like faith and perseverance and that sort of stuff. And it was like an hour and a half video. I can't remember all, but it was a couple of years ago. I need to find it in my list, actually. I want to bring that back up. If the Chinese will actually allow that. But geez. He is everywhere. I mean, those 8 families, those 8 individuals that came out of that boat, they really did go to different places and they developed different areas. The mathematics of procreation are astounding. I mean, look at this. We got 7.5 billion people. I remember a time not too long ago when it was 3.5 billion people. If I'm not mistaken, there was a time that I read in a magazine that it was 2.4 billion people. I was alive. 2.4 billion people. We got 3 times more people on the planet. I'm not that old. So it doesn't take long to just explode.
Yeah, those are official numbers. You know, how are we know? You know, and a lot of them are in China. So how do we even know, right? I mean, it's probably a guesstimation.
Well, in China, we'll know if they're actually open about the numbers, and they were for a while.
Mm-hmm.
They're honest about what is beneficial to them.
Yeah.
Okay. They'll tell you all the great stuff about them. You just don't say a damn word negative, otherwise, you know, you'll disappear at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Yeah, we joke about that, but they got troops on the northern and southern border, and they got submarines on both coasts.
Yes, they do. Yeah, and you're looking at the what they're trying to do is create the Chinification of America. That's what they're trying to do. Turn this into China West.
Yeah, but it was China West. Yeah, that's what San Francisco is. I heard, well, anyway, it's not just China's idea. The problem is, I mean, this is the people who've been wanting to control us are under influence of a maleficent energy that has been around for quite a while and has a very long-term plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so all these idiots have been following that long-term plan, even though they're not going to see any of the benefits of that plan. And their greatest benefit of creating that plan is burning and being tortured. So woohoo, they're freaking morons. But those are the powers and principalities that rule this world. They can't enjoy their life. It's just impossible. Things that they've done, they can't. But they can't show anybody they're not enjoying their life because they still need everyone to say, oh, I want to be like the princess. I want to be like the king. I want to have this rock star's car, and I want to have that superstar's pool. Because it keeps us indebted to the system. It keeps us working on the plantation. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to keep this on a positive level.
Well, on the upside, people are waking up in great numbers. I mean, it's incredible worldwide. I mean, I'm sure even in your country, there's probably a Brazilian.
Oh yeah, Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro is the Brazilian Trump. Now, still, we've got our left, and here it's a very socialist country as well. Latin America in general, they've been brainwashed for a very long time. And, I can see it and recognize it because I've lived in those areas, but at the same time, I also see and recognize it because I haven't lived in those. In other words, I lived away long enough to be able to recognize it as different, not as, well, that's the way the world is.
Right.
And so to get them out of that victim mentality many times can be difficult, and it goes from Mexico to Argentina. And there are lots of things can be said about it and lots of realities that could be changed and altered, but I'm not going to be the one that changes a couple of continents.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, hey, maybe I'm underestimating myself, but.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
when you were living in Mexico City, you spent a pretty fair decent amount of time there, right?
Yeah.
Had you ever seen anything unusual in the sky like a UFO?
Um, there are certain areas that are famous for it, and I've always wanted to visit those places. I personally haven't seen it, although yeah, we're there. Popocatépetl is a volcano that's there close to Mexico City. It's southeast, I think. It's near Puebla, which is also fourth largest city in Mexico. It's got a huge Volkswagen plant there, huge, largest outside of Germany, by the way. But they have eruptions every once in a while with their volcano, and there are urban legends to where you can see lights coming in and out of those volcanoes. I've never been privy to seeing them myself, but I've always been curious to see them and to visit those places. And I've visited lots of those places, but I just maybe I'm not attuned to seeing them or something, but I've always wanted to. Yeah, there's 3 or 4 places that I know of in Mexico that are famous for those things. But it makes sense because it was the center of a very large civilization that didn't have God at its center, unfortunately. I mean, my dad wouldn't enjoy me talking about the Mayans and the Aztec in that form. Um, but their main god is a flying serpent. So it's Anunnaki, whatever. It's all the same thing, right? We've got pyramids all over the planet. It's not just Giza. And then you look at, oh, but the Maya have it as well. Fine, yeah. But then you got Gobekli Tepe, and then you've got, the stuff in the middle of India. And then, China has more pyramids that are hidden and buried and covered up, and they put all kinds of dirt over the top of them so it looks like a mound, and they plant huge tall trees around it so nobody can see it. Just looks like that's just a forest and a hill. That's nothing to see there. Because they hide their past. That's what socialists do. That's what Marxists do. Because for you to accept the false promises and the lies of the deceiver, you have to let go or forego the knowledge of your own existence. You have to let go of your own father before you follow the devil. But they have a way of making people do that subconsciously and without even noticing it. He's a deceptible little weasel. Hey,
What was that?
that was my jacu.
Your what?
Jacu. It's a type of bird, but it's where is he? Oh, there he is, right there. Okay, all right. Oh, I'm in the way. Right there.
Camera shy. Yep, I see him.
He's a big one too. He's one of the big ones. I got 2 small ones that started showing up yesterday as well. But he comes in and he looks for the dog food that I leave down there.
Oh, wow.
See if I can catch him on this side. Oh, there he is behind the potted plant. There you go.
Yeah, wow. So that's what are those called?
That's a jacu.
Jacu.
Yeah. So it took me a while to figure out the name because I was calling it other names, but the one that I was calling it doesn't have a tail that size. And I didn't really know which one it was until they came. See, that's my dog bowl right there. And so they eat the dog food. Whatever my dog doesn't eat, they come in and peck that up. And that's why they're big as chickens. So, yeah, he just flew in because he stops on the roof, and they kind of like my trees just a little bit.
Sure.
I kind of think birds like trees. I'm still not sure about that.
Of course. Yeah. Natural.
You got to hear this place at 4:30 in the morning. Holy cow. Talk about cacophony. That will show you what the definition of cacophony is the birds singing at 4:30 in the morning before dawn. But yeah, society in Mexico, to me, it's family. And that's one of the reasons I came to Brazil, because I found that my wife is Brazilian. I met her in Mexico. And for different reasons or circumstances and everything else, we ended up here in 97. We're close to the beach, close to the mountains. I was able to bring whatever savings that I had in the States and pension and had an inheritance here or there, and built my house to where I don't have monthly payments. My real estate taxes are relatively low. Granted, the services we get with it are also extremely low, but hey, I being brought up on the farm in Oklahoma, you kind of learn to fend for yourself, and you take care of your own needs. And so that's what I kind of do. And as I'm protecting my own needs, I'm also making sure that others are growing,
Yeah, awesome.
being healthy and everything else. So
Well,
he's
I know
strutting him.
there's a lot of our viewers who are watching this who are very envious of you living in this jungle paradise that you built for yourself here. It's pretty awesome.
I call it my what do they call it whenever they're under house arrest? There you go. Yeah, I'm under house arrest. I'm in exile, basically. I consider myself a bush refugee.
Well, you know, it's that's maybe where JFK Jr. has been hiding out in a place like that, huh?
Oh no, he's got his own islands everywhere else that he can
you
enjoy,
think?
closer to the Caribbean. Oh yeah, they've all got islands in the Pirates of the Caribbean, man. They're all there.
Sure.
They got their own places. They show up by submarine, you know. That's John. That would be an interesting one. However, it would be worrisome, because wouldn't that be someone who survived a lethal blow? So
Well,
again, I
unless
always end up relating things to where, you know, Revelation would take it to. And so it's like, really, I don't want somebody coming back from the dead to lead the world on some great peace parade.
Oh, I see how it would look. How it would look.
Exactly.
But what I understood, if this is true, which you know nobody knows, but
Oh, he faked his own death because Hillary was trying to kill him because he was running for the same Senate seat.
right.
And his best friend, you know, Donald Trump was, you know, they were both planning on carrying out the solution to his promise to find the guys that killed his dad, even if it meant bringing down the whole damn government.
Right.
So yeah, I've seen the plan.
So it's you know, even if it's not true, that he's still alive, the idea that's put out there that he might be alive would freak the deep state out, I think.
No, they're already freaking out, and they're calling us nut jobs for that he was there for the birth of our nation. Did you see that? On July 4th, 2020, he was on top of Washington's head with a spotlight. And that was the day that Trump signed the Declaration of Independence and the new constitutional republic was founded.
Oh boy, I hope that's true. That would be.
That's why do you think there's no lights on at the White House?
Yeah, that's the ninth day of darkness or eighth day.
I'm hoping day after tomorrow is going to be a good day. Everything's supposed to be coming out. I mean, that's 10 days of darkness right there. That White House has been dark, and all their portrayed signings. You know, we all already know that's Castle Rock Productions.
Yeah, right.
Holy cow.
Yeah, he hasn't met with any dignitaries from other countries. He hasn't called anyone, and he hasn't done any of the things that a normal president would be doing.
Because he hasn't left the house. He's not allowed to leave the basement.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, you know, planning at its finest. And what a show with a climactic ending, you know?
Oh my God, if it's the ending that we think it is, it's going to be freaking awesome.
Yeah, it'll be
Although
good.
Jasara really scares the piss out of me. Now, that would be great if we really have We captured $357 quintillion worth of gold in 150 miles and 30 bars stacked high. For these people have been robbing us blind for millennia.
Well, that's more money than I make in a week. Are you kidding me? Wow.
Maybe a month. You can get that, chump change.
Yeah.
Change. That's just play money.
Yes.
Holy crap, dude. The problem is, even if confiscating the vast wealth of the hedonistic terrorists that have been ruling our reality for so long, he's just strolling across my garden. Sorry, get that. Going towards the tree, he starts, speeding up a little bit as he gets closer to the tree, and now he's going to go drink water down over there.
Nice.
It can seem boring, and yeah, if my 12-year-old self saw me today, I'd be like, man, you got boring quick. What the hell you're looking at? But it's sort of like the movie The Gladiator.
Mm-hmm.
When you're done fighting, you just want to get back to the peace of the farm.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've been in isolation for 21 years. I've missed out on a lot of things. I missed out on a lot of growth in the US. I've missed out on the growth of family members that I left behind, on, the aging of family members that some are now gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I missed a lot of stuff because, well, paradise has its costs too.
Well, sometimes when you're stuck on Gilligan's Island, you don't want to be rescued, right?
Hey, give me, I don't know. See, I always loved Ginger, but Marianne was this, wholesome one that will help you survive better. But oh, give me a Ginger. Oh, Lordy.
I always had a crush on Marianne, but
yeah, I know, which is why I mentioned I like Marianne. She's a nice girl.
She
But
could make
Ginger,
coconut cream pies too. Coconut cream pies she could make.
True. However, Ginger could wear a pair of coconut shells a lot better.
Well,
no, but they're both. You had to have them in what we would be either Gilligan or the captain. I mean, it's Professor. I call Professor. I got dibs.
It was a great show. They did so many interesting things with that show. I mean, it was and the Howells, very funny.
No, fucking perfect. They basically Gilligan's Island was American society at its nexus, because you've got different personalities of different people that are there, and that's the predictive programming that we went through in Leave It to Beaver. Doesn't everybody want to have their life like Leave It to Beaver? But we all got bored to death that life because there was nothing fun or exciting about it. So then we started riding around the back of pickups without helmets and everything else. Now we got bubble wrap. So it's, it's that yo-yo effect. But yeah, I miss, God, what was that one? It was right before I was around, but I used to watch it in Mexico, because in Mexico they have reruns of old American shows. So in the 70s, I was watching reruns from shows in the 50s, like Lucy. I love Lucy and that sort of thing. But Father Knows Best.
Great show.
Wasn't that a bizarre program?
It was a great show.
And there were some other realities back then that it's a bygone era that I'm not sure will ever return.
Well,
because player number one seems more realistic to our near-term future than the Jetsons, for example.
We're talking on a Jetsons television phone right now, and if you go to the airport, there is moving sidewalks, so we're getting there. It just hasn't happened as quickly as we wanted it to.
Well, yeah, there you're right, because we do live. Our car doesn't turn into a briefcase, but we do have Uber, right? So we don't need, we've got self-driving cars. So all of a sudden we got the fifth element in there, right? To where you get into the taxi and it's a robot driving you to where you need to go. So yeah, there are different versions of reality, but well, okay. So it is more like the Jetsons than player number one. You're right. People aren't being stacked in containers 20 feet high.
No.
Well, maybe in big cities they are.
Well,
but they're also getting away from New York because they got tired of being in their own little rat cages. That brings me to, there was an experiment that was made with mice, laboratory mice. They would keep these mice in a larger area and they'd keep them separated. And they've given their basic food, water, supplies, and exercise wheel and that sort of stuff. And they were calm, peaceful, and everything else. And the experiment was reducing the size of the cage and then putting other cages of mice on top of them once they reached a certain size. And they found that when you reproduce the living conditions in big cities, everybody crammed into those apartments, rat cages on top of each other, the behavior of the laboratory mice mimicked the behavior that we see in big cities. Calm down, somebody's trying to sleep. Shut up. I didn't talk to you. I don't care. Well, y'all keep it down. You know, you're irritated at the neighbor on the side. You're, banging on the roof because you can hear them walking around everywhere. People become much more irritated, and that's because I personally believe that our auras around our body, basically, our soul is outside of our body. Our body is the hologram version of our soul in this 3D reality. Our body is the interference pattern of our soul with this reality. And so it's not contained inside our body, it's outside it. And so what the implication of that is that we can have an effect on somebody who's close to us. Our energy can affect them. It's that karma or chemistry. Whenever you see that girl and all of a sudden your eyes meet and you, boom, something inside you tells you that she's great and something inside her tells her that you're great. And it's because the souls reached out, connected, and found what other souls they would create with that reality. And so the relationship comes together based on the energy that they had in common, that new life, that new reality that they would be able to create. It's sort of our soul doing quantum computing on our reality through our pheromones and everything else. So yeah, whenever you've got lots of people tightly packed, their auras and their energies will interfere with each other, and that resonance is like screeching on a chalkboard. Try and listening to 8 different songs of 8 different genres at the same time. It hurts. Beethoven might be beautiful. Metallica can be awesome. A little country music of Waylon Jennings, you can listen to that for a while. Hell, why not put some Beatles and Elvis together? Each one of those is fantastic. Now, play them all at high volume at the same time.
Yeah.
Not that enjoyable.
You know what? Funny you should say that, because recently I've been listening to 2 different shows at the same time, and I'm getting all of the information.
Yeah. I've been doing that on the computer, and then I got the cell phone, and I got 2 different channels running, and sometimes it can get too much because you need to pay attention to one and you'll pause the other one, but at the same time. But that reminds me of Jim. Old Jim from the show Taxi. I don't know if you remember that show.
Sure, yeah.
Taxi. There was an episode to where Jim really went out of his way to be the best cabbie ever. I mean, he'd be singing. I remember he was singing songs, and he'd give him food, and then, just being the absolute best cabbie possible. They'd tell him the address, and he'd be like L7 because he found it in his brain where the map, because he had memorized the entire map of the city. And everybody says, yeah, but you've never worked this hard before. yeah, but I've got an objective and I want to, be able to surpass and that sort of thing. And at the end, he went back to being the old Jim that he was before. What happened? What? Did you finally figure out that it's not worth all the effort? No, I got what I needed, and now I'm here to share it with all of you. And so he invited them all to his apartment, and what he had spent his money on was like 20 television sets.
Wow.
And they were all stacked on, on top of each other and on the wall. And they all started making fun of him, going, "Hey, you can't listen to all of those at the same time. That doesn't make sense." And they were all turned on to different channels. And so then you got one, "Oh, I like that show." And she goes and she sits down on the couch. And you're like, "Oh, yeah, they got the news on over there." And so he sits down in the chair on the couch. And so each person that was there started finding something in the programming that they liked. And all of a sudden, they were all sitting in the same area looking at his television wall.
Mm.
Each one of them watching a different program, but all of them in the same environment. And Jim was sitting there going, "Yeah, that's what I wanted. Everybody together in peace."
Right.
So he had all the information that you wanted, but it was to bring everybody together. And there's some really brilliant things that were said by a burnout ex-stoner named Jim. I forgot what his last name was, but that guy was awesome. He taught you a lot about the basics of humanity, that guy. Better than the character that was by Danny DeVito. I mean, I like Danny DeVito, but that character was just mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, those 70 movies, those 70s shows and 80s shows changed, but it was another aspect of reality of society that I miss. I really do miss. But that might just be me getting old and oh yeah, the good old days. They weren't that good, but they were. They were different, and they're not here anymore. We have to deal with that. We go on with the reality. But I'm worried about the direction that everybody's going.
Well,
And
I keep thinking and knowing and believing that the best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. And boy, if you listen to some of the speeches that Trump gave about persistence and
never give up.
never give up, and boy, he's just inspired an entire world, really. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Well, Mike, we've been talking for a while. I think we're going to wrap it up. Is there any last?
How long has this been? I don't even see the timer on this thing.
It's been, I think, almost 2 hours.
Holy cow. Okay. Yeah. My grandmother used to call me bionic mouth, or motor mouth. So
Okay.
I only do that anymore whenever I feel comfortable. So thank you very much, Mr. Moriarty. It has been a tremendous pleasure, as always, speaking to you, sir. We always have some great conversations, definitely.
Thanks, Mike. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for tuning in. This is Aaron Moriarty signing off. Peace in.
There you go.